Hey guys, how you doing? Doing an update video for friends and followers to bring you up to speed really on what I'm doing at the moment, what I'm going to be doing in 2023. So, as you probably know, I come from a long background in digital marketing, web design, graphic design, all that kind of stuff. In the last few years, I've been doing an awful lot in biohacking and learning stacks about that. So I've come this very long way round via gardening, and I was really passionate about creating greenhouses. I designed my own earth sheltered greenhouse and stuff like that, and went to a lot of conferences to do with sustainable and regenerative ways of producing food, and started to discover some stuff there that people were talking about the importance of the health benefits of stuff like beef, which I thought was really interesting, because I was convinced that the way to draw down carbon and build lots of soil was really to grow as many plants as possible. But I really had my eyes open to the relationship between cattle and other grazing animals and the environment, and why that's actually really important. Anyway, so the health benefits of meat were a bit of a surprise. I think like many people, I'd spent a few years vegetarian, this, that, and the other. So anyway, I then discovered that there is actually a community of carnivores out there. That's actually a thing. And the more I've looked into it, the more I've realised. So I've been part of the Human Unleashed, and we wrote the Red Pill Revolution book, and then we've written the Red Pill Food Revolution, which is coming out in the new year, and that has been a completely mind-blowing experience. Completely realising where to start. There's so much in it, but the bottom line is that the food that most of us are eating most of the time today is unfit for human consumption. And what's more, that the education that we are being given, the guidance that we've received for our whole lives about how to eat healthily, you should get your 5 a day, all that kind of stuff, that vegetable oil is heart healthy and it's good for you, and that saturated fat is a killer. It'll clog your arteries. It won't. And animal fat is to be minimized or avoided, as well as meat, because meat can give you cancer and so on and so forth. It's all nonsense. It fails at the simplest kind of sanity check of common sense, right? It's so easy to disprove. We are physiologically carnivores. We are designed to get our energy from animal fat. Okay, it can't possibly be unhealthy, right? If it was unhealthy, then breast milk would make babies sick, and it doesn't, right? But anyway, so we've written a whole book about it, and how food has been manipulated, really by big money interests, put it that way, and it's making us sick. It's making us sick. It's making us obese. 1 in 2 men apparently should expect to get cancer in their lifetimes. Now 1 in 3 women. Heart disease is an even bigger killer than that, and these things just didn't really exist at the start of the 20th century, right? So something's not working. The advice that we've been given is totally wrong. So I am rebranding myself as the Fat Coach. So basically my job is going to be to tell people it's not only okay to eat fat from animal sources, fatty meat, fish, eggs, dairy, but it's actually good for you and you should be doing it. And I know it's a really not very fashionable position to take, but I think it's absolutely essential. And the number one reason is that if there's one thing that any of us can do in the modern world to take back control of our health, our sanity, our body shape, our energy levels, it's to change the way that you fuel your body. I've been on a high fat, low carb way of eating now for 2 or 3 years. I know that it's better for me. completely. There's simply no question. And I've met with so many people. I know so many people now who are, many of them fully carnivores. Some people who are living off literally beef, fat, salt, and water, and that's it. It's the most healing. It's the most health restoring way that you can fuel your body. The so-called vegetable oils are completely toxic. They are industrial byproducts. They were originally made as machine lubricants. They are terrible for your body. They cause inflammation. They tell your body to store fat. We're looking at getting towards 50% obesity now in the West, right? That means that you are, medically dangerously overweight, and it's being normalized. And heart disease is being normalized, and cancer is being normalized, and these things they're not acceptable. And I don't think we should just sit back and allow ourselves individually to slide into chronic ill health, obesity, and a very unhappy old age if you're lucky enough to have one. So I see my job as really twofold. One is to get out there and spread the message about fat being healthy, good fat being healthy, and then also to help people to experience it for themselves. Because it's dead easy for somebody to preach this, that, and the other. I mean, I've know lots of vegans who preach that we should all eat plants, and that's better for your health and better for animals and the planet. I believe the opposite. There are people who say you should eat only fruit, whereas I really think that sugar's a really big problem as well. I think if we're going to do anything, the simple facts are the seed oils have to go. Never buy these vegetable oils, the corn oil, any of the soybean, whatever it is. The olive oil and coconut are slightly different, and avocado oil, but any of the vegetable oils, they are absolutely horrible, and they are destroying our health. Put it that way. Refined carbs, similar. Sugar is now being added to. It's around 80% of all the items on the grocery store shelves in the United States now have added sugar. Right? We're not just talking about like breakfast cereal and candy bars, right? Which are, breakfast cereal is nearly all about 30% sugar anyway. They add sugar to almost everything. It's extremely addictive. Your body doesn't need it. It's completely devoid of actual nutrition, and it's going to make us weak. It's going to make us addicted. It's going to make us sick. Okay, so there's loads of facts, right? So retraining your thinking is one thing, and I'm completely and utterly convinced about all of this. And the second thing that we need to do is to be able to make the switch is easier said than done, right? So I want to help people to do that. So we are launching in January, starting January 2nd, we're launching the Big Fat Challenge. It's a 90-day experiential program where we're going to have live coaching calls every single day for 90 days. We're going to have lots and lots of information in bite-sized chunks so that you can retrain your thinking about food, because we can prove it all. It's all there. And in fact, there'll be people sitting here thinking, well, I know that the science says that meat is linked with cancer. It's not. That's saturated fat, which, by the way, animal fat isn't the highest saturated fat, okay? But saturated fat is bad for you. It will kill you. It'll clog your arteries. It won't. It can't. It never has. We used to be healthier than we are now by a long way. Retraining your thinking is one thing. Retraining your habits is another thing entirely. And so this is what we're going to do on the Big Fat Challenge. 90 days, 13 weeks, little mini challenge every week, or you can dive straight in at the deep end if you want to do that. And it's like I say, it's really not easy. I mean, getting off sugar is getting off the vegetable oil is easy because it's horrible anyway, right? It's not even nice. And once you realise the industrial processes it goes through, that it's actually completely rancid and stinky and foul before they treat it, you'll never touch it again once you realise actually where it comes from. Sugar's extremely addictive, very hard to get off, and the grains as well. Your body doesn't need that stuff. You don't need the fiber. You don't need all those carbohydrates. You simply don't need it. But they are addictive. I mean, sugar in particular, very, very addictive. Activates same areas of your brain that street drugs will activate, and quite honestly, bread and grains are not much different. So that's what we're going to do, but we're going to do it together. We're going to do it as a group. We're going to get mutual support, and that's how I see my career going forward. You know, I'm as surprised as probably a lot of you are that somebody who's come from this kind of web design and technology background is suddenly kind of coming out as I wouldn't say maybe a food coach or a lifestyle coach, but I genuinely believe it is that important. It's big enough of an issue for me and whoever else to throw all our weight into and to devote our lives to doing this. So that's what I'm going to be doing in 2023. If you are at a point where you think in the new year that you would like to make some major changes to how you feel, then this is the number one thing that you can do. Forget signing up for a gym membership and committing to that. It's so much easier to drop body fat by changing your eating habits. And I'm saying, put fatty meat. Your body fat will melt away. You will have more energy. You will get less hangry, right? I used to suffer from that all the time myself. If I wasn't putting something starchy in my mouth every couple of hours, I'd get grumpy, upset, miserable, all these kind of things. I'm so much more stable these days. I can go hours at a time. I can have one meal in a day, or even I'll go three days without even eating, and without major discomfort. And it's revolutionary. It's completely changed my experience of day-to-day living. Okay, so so that's what we're going to do. So if you fancy doing that, even if you're sitting there thinking this is a load of nonsense, Ben's making it up as he goes along, he's lost his mind or whatever, then come and prove me wrong, because this stuff works, right? But it's not the easiest thing in the world, right? You can go out there, you can find the information. It's all out there. The real science is there. The facts are there to be seen, but you will not hear them from the mainstream. You will not get them from your government's dietary guidelines, which are all sponsored by big industry. Okay, you've got to go and find it for yourself. And if you want to do that, and you want to discover the truth for yourself, and if you've got the motivation and the discipline to implement that in your life, then that's absolutely brilliant and fantastic. But for me, I've not been able to kick the bread. I've not been able to kick the beer for very long, and I'll still go for the sugary stuff. And all this stuff is kind of related anyway. But I'm going to be doing this challenge starting January 2nd. If you are intrigued, then go along to thebigfatchallenge.com and sign up. Yeah, and if you think that I've gone insane, then try it, prove me wrong. But it won't happen, because when you do this, your life will change for the better. So yeah, come along to thebigfatchallenge.com and let's do this. Okay, thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great year.